Dr. Abhijit Mujumdar in front of you as working as a professor and director of Noida Institute of Engineering and Technology Pharmacy Institute, Greater Noida. Now, today we are here to study one of the very important aspects of pharmaceutical marketing management. Many of you are having a plan to join marketing after passing out your undergraduation in pharmacy. And in the last two classes, we have discussed about what are the basic marketing channels which are available, what are the process by which we select a particular marketing channel. Now, today in our class, we will be discussing about what are the possible hazards which may come across if the channel members are in a conflict. That is what we are calling as the channel conflict. In the previous class, we have discussed about the various advantages, various opportunities which a particular manufacturing unit gets whenever he or she is selecting a particular channel of distribution. If you recollect, in that class I have told you that a marketing manager has to decide which channel he will opt for, in fact whether he will opt for any channel of distribution or not at all, and if he adopts, he needs to make a compromise of the advantages he are getting through appointment of this channel of distribution and the cost which he has to bear. The moment he is adopting, the moment he is putting a channel of distribution, at that same time he will have to incur the cost. So, he has to see whether the cost is more. Now, if the cost is more than the advantages, automatically he or she will not go for the setting up of the channel of distributions. But in majority of the cases we have seen, the advantages are pretty higher, pretty more as compared to the cost involved. In fact, that is the reason why all the pharmaceutical houses, they are opting for the establishment of the channel of distribution. So, to maintain these advantages, we have to see that there should not be any unnecessary conflict which will spoil the reputation of the organization, which will spoil the purpose for which it has been set up. And that is what we will be studying today, that is the conflict in a channel of distribution. We classify it into four broad headings: vertical conflict, horizontal conflict, intertype conflict and multi-channel conflict. These are the four broad conflicts which we should be very cautious about. I am repeating again: the vertical conflict, the horizontal conflict, the intertype conflict and the multi-channel conflict. What is vertical conflict? The term vertical, that is in the level. See, vertical is like this. So, vertical channel conflicts occur when the channel partner belonging to a higher level enters into a sort of a dispute with a channel member who is below. That is, a member in the higher level is involved in a dispute or a conflict with a member in the below in the line. For example, manufacturer का साथ wholesaler, wholesaler going into a dispute with retailer. It can be going in the other way around also. A individual in the lower level is going on into a conflict with an individual at the higher level. Wholesalers not accepting the terms and conditions which a manufacturer is given. Moment this sort of a thing happens, that is what we are calling as a vertical conflict. Now, vertical conflict occurs when the channel partners belonging to higher level enters into a conflict with a channel partner at the lower level and vice versa. The conflict occurs either between the wholesalers and the retailers or between the manufacturers and wholesalers. What are the things on which the conflict is basically arising? The conflict arises mainly in terms of price, in terms of quantity, as well as in various types of marketing activities like promotion and so on. The lack of clarity in the roles they have to carry out, over dependence on the manufacturers, it has been found that these two are the primary reasons for which this vertical conflict takes place. That is, the role which a wholesaler has to carry out, that needs to be crystal clear, the role which a manufacturer has to carry out, that needs to be very clearly noted down, and a role which a retailer has to take care of, that also needs to be taken care of. If there is any dispute, any ambiguity, any lack of clarity in any one of these three roles, dear students, please know that dispute is bound to happen. So, lack of role clarity and over dependence on the manufacturers. For example, today the large retailers dominate the market and dictate the terms and conditions, and hence there is a high possibility that there may be a dispute between the manufacturers and these giant retailers, because they are controlling, they are having an overall grip of the market. The wholesaler expects the manufacturers to maintain the product quality and production schedule, and expect the retailers to market the products very effectively in a proper time. In turn, the retailers and the manufacturers also expect the wholesalers to provide them a very coordinated functional service. If any one of them fail to conform to their expectation of the other, automatically channel conflict results. That is, there is a sort of expectation from both the parties, and if any one of them they fail to conform each other's expectation, channel conflict results. Some of the common reasons for the vertical conflict are dual distribution. Manufacturers may bypass an intermediary and sell directly to the customers, and thus they compete with the intermediaries. मान लो there is one organization who has recruited the intermediaries to distribute their products, to sell their products, and companies started suddenly selling the product directly to the customers. Automatically there is a competition generated. The customers will try to bypass these intermediaries. So, that will lead to a sort of a channel vertical conflict. This is what we are calling as the conflict due to dual distribution, two party distributing at the same time. Next is oversaturation. For example, if you see the company has distributed or recruited a large number of intermediaries in a particular geographical region. That is, a large number of intermediaries are recruited by the company in a geographical region. So, this has resulted in the reduction of sales opportunity for the individual dealers, because there will be a competition between one intermediary to the other, and whenever this takes place, it will lead to the shrinkage of profit. The dealers will not get the profit what they try to get. That is what we are calling as oversaturation. Manufacturers permit too many intermediaries in a designated area that can restrict, reduce the sales opportunities for the individual dealers, and ultimately there is a shrinkage of profit, and when this shrinkage of profit is there, this will lead to what we are calling as the conflict. Next reason is partiality or partial treatment. The manufacturers offers different services and different margins to various channel members in a same level. This is very, very important. Or favoritism to a particular member in a particular retailing outlets. If the manufacturer shows a preference, if a manufacturer offers greater margin to a particular channel members who are in the same level of hierarchy, automatically this will lead to a unsatisfaction amongst the members. Favoritism is one of the very, very dangerous situation, because this will lead to lack of motivation. Lack of motivation in turn will be leading to a dissatisfaction, and finally that will percolate down to the customer. In fact, the company will lose the business. Manufacturers offer different services and margins to different levels, different channel members at the same level, or favoritism of same member. This is what we are calling as partial treatment. New channels. The manufacturer develops and use innovative channels that create threat to the established channel members. Whenever a particular organization is recruiting a new channel member, and that new channel member will be in an existing market, so the already pre-existing members, they will be scared, they will be afraid, because why? Because their profit margin will be cut down. Next is no or inadequate sales support and training to the intermediaries are provided by the manufacturers. If the sales support is less, if the training is less, automatically this leads to a conflict. Because what the company expects, the company at the end of the day, they expect that their product is to be sold. So, if the support is not proper, if the training is not proper to these intermediaries, this leads to the development of a conflict in the channel. Next is irregular communication. Irregular communication or non-cooperation or rude behavior with any of the channel members, it immediately results in a creation of a dispute and development of a conflict between the any two members of the channel. This is what we have studied as vertical conflict, that is two level, difference in the two level. Next we are calling as horizontal conflict. The horizon, that means the first and foremost thing is they must be in the same level. Horizontal conflicts are conflict between the channel members who are at the same level. Verticals, the levels are different. I hope this fundamental difference is clear to all of you. Now, whenever horizontal conflict is there, two or more retailers, two or more franchisees who are at the same level, if there exists a dispute, we are calling them to be as a horizontal conflict. This conflict may provide a benefit to the customers. How? Because due to conflict, sometimes the retailers, they try to lower down their margin and they offer it in the form of a discount to the customers to attract them. So, the advantage of the customers is they are getting the price much lower than the other retailer is offering. So, the customer is getting the product at a lower cost. So, this conflict offers some positive benefit to the customers. Competition or a price war between the two dealers or between the two retailers can be in the favor of customers, that is, issues between two or more stockists or retailers of different territories on ground of pricing, on ground of sales target, on grounds of area coverage, promotional scheme, etc. If a retailer is giving a much more better promotional offer as compared to the other retailers in the market, this leads to a conflict because there will be a shifting of the customers from the retailer who is not offering to the retailer who is offering. Let us see what are the reasons for this horizontal conflict. As I have told you, the first and foremost is the price off or the discount by one dealer or one retailer. The price off by one dealer or retailer can attract more customers of the other retailers. The person from whom the customers are migrating, he will be losing his revenue or the profit. Aggressive advertising and pricing by one dealer can also affect the business of the other dealers. This is another reason for dispute to take place. So, there are two processes. One is advertisement, second one is low pricing. The third one is the extra service which is offered by one of the retailers, or extra service which is offered by one of the dealers. Moment a customer is getting an extra service at a no cost, automatically he will shift. So, the retailers can attract customers of others, crossing the assigned territory and selling in other dealers, retailers and the franchisees area. Say you are entitled to sell your product in Greater Noida, you are trying to cross your area by a vigorous promotional technique, by offering a lower price, you are catering the needs of the people at Delhi. You are catering the need of the people at Haryana. What will happen? The people from those states, they will try to purchase a product from you. So, automatically the retailers of Haryana and Delhi, they will suffer, which will result in what you are calling as the horizontal conflict. I hope it is clear to all of you. Next is the unethical practice or the malpractice of one dealer or retailer can affect the other and spoil the brand image. Say a dealer is using an unethical technique, a dealer is spoiling the reputation of the company. it always flows, the message percolates, the information flows. Once the image is spoiled, it is not that the image will be spoiling in a particular area, the image will be spoiling across the country. And once the image is spoiled across the country, it will be very difficult for the retailers to sell their product in their domain. Next is inter-type conflict. Inter-type conflict occurs when the intermediary is dealing in a particular product start trading outside the normal product range. You are supposed to sell consumer goods, you are starting selling the vegetables. Now, it is a question of the big supermarkets who are financially very powerful. Now, when they are starting to sell vegetables, automatically the poor vegetable vendors, they suffer. That is what we are calling as inter-type conflict. There is a conflict in the nature of the product which they are selling. For example, now the supermarkets such as Food World also sells vegetables and fruits, and thus compete with the small retailers selling those products. Large retailers often offer a large variety, and thus they compete with the small and specialized variety which we are calling as scrambled merchandising, where the large retailers go out of their way to enter a product line which is absolutely different from the usual product range to challenge the small and concentrated retailers. Next, we are calling as the multi-channel conflict. Multi-channel conflict occurs when the manufacturer uses a dual distribution strategy. That is, manufacturer uses two or more channel arrangement to cater to the same market. That is, they are using their own exclusive showrooms or outlets, at the same time they are preparing some other channels to sell their manufacturer brand. So, there is a conflict between the two existing channels which are there. So, we are having mainly three: vertical, horizontal and multi-channel conflict. Now, the stages of conflict: whenever a conflict arises, sometimes the conflict becomes latent, some amount of discord exists, but it does not affect the delivery or the working environment. It does not affect, that is what we are calling as the latent conflict. Perceived conflict is what when it becomes noticeable, discord becomes noticeable amongst the channel member. The channel member takes the situation in their stride and go about their normal business. No cause to worry because the opposition has yet to be recognized. Next is the felt conflict. This is the stage of worry and concern because the parties are trying to outsmart other, the party are trying to overcome the other. The cause could be economical, the cause could be personal. And the next process is manifest conflict, one which is automatically seen, reflects over antagonistic behavior of the channel members, confrontation results, initiative taken are openly opposed. That is, one group is openly opposing the other, which is reducing the effectivity of the performance of the channel system. It may require sometimes the intervention from outside. Causes of conflict in channels: different partners have separate goals, manufacturers are trying to adapt the large market share by adopting market penetration strategy by offering it at a lower price. On the other hand, dealers want to sell the product at the higher price following a market skimming strategy. So, these two leads to a sort of a conflict. The channel partner do not have a clear picture of the role, that is what they want to do, what market they want to cater, what price they need to adopt. That is, the flow of information is not proper. Channel partner have different proposition about the market condition. Manufacturers is optimistic about the change in price, but the dealers feel that moment the company is changing a price, it will have a negative impact on the customer. That is another way, another reason for which conflict arises. If the manufacturer changes the promotional scheme of the product with an intention to cut price, retailers find it difficult to sell the product without any promotional effect or promotional situation. Next is the lack of conflict. The lack of communication. If the partner is not communicated properly for any change in time, it will hamper the distribution process, it will hamper the disparity. Resolving conflict, understanding the nature and intensity, tracing the source of conflict, then you have to understand what impact the conflict may have in the long run, and then you have to go for the strategy to overcome this conflict. Basically, there are 4 ways: either avoid, aggression, accommodate, comprise and collaboration. These are the 4 ways. First is avoidance. Used by weak channel member, problem is postponed and discussed later on, to be avoided. Relationships are not much important, as there is no serious effort on getting this thing done, conflict can be avoided. Aggression, basically we are calling it as a competitive or a selfish style. It means being concerned about the one's own goal only, they are least bothered about the other effects. Next is accommodation, a situation to completely surrender. One party helps the other to achieve its goal without being at all worried about its own goal. Emphasis is full cooperation and flexibility in the approach. Lastly is compromise. Obviously, both sides have to give up something, to have to come in the middle way. Can work only with small and not so serious conflict, used in earlier 2 stages also. Collaboration, it is a problem solving approach. It tries to maximize the benefits to both the parties while solving the dispute. It is in fact, it is the most appropriate or an idealistic approach to solve it out. With this, we are coming to the end of our class today. I hope you have understood the basic reasons for the conflict and way to overcome them. Thank you.